woke up this morning and it's quite foggy and there's ice everywhere, big icebergs, and that's could affect today because ice can be a real enemy because it affects where the ship can go. It can block passage into the bays that we're due to go to. So it's really beautiful, but it could be a real disaster for today. I have no idea how today is going to pan out. That's one of the things you learn really, really quickly on an expedition cruise, is that no matter what the plans are, they will probably change. The reason I want to take you on today's trip is we're supposed to do two of the big things that would normally happen on an expedition cruise, the Zodiac cruise and the landing. We were briefed on that last night, but who knows? So let's find out how it all plays out. Right, so about 15 minutes before I'm due to be downstairs because it looks like we're running to schedule. So it's time to get dressed. This is one of the things that I get asked so many times is about packing and what to wear. So it's really pretty simple. It gets cold, it's like -7 outside today, -7 Celsius. But if you wear layers, you don't really feel the cold. In fact, it's my face that feels it the most, which is the exposed part. It's all about layers. So you have a base layer, you then have an insulating layer, you then have an outside layer which is waterproof, which includes things like waterproof trousers and a parka. Now you need to bring most of that with you. Depending on the line you're with, you will get various parts on the ship. So you'll normally get a parka, which all the lines give you because it's the same color, and it means when you're out they can spot you very easily. Some will rent you boots. Now I actually have my own boots because with all the hiking stuff I want to wear my own boots. So don't panic too much about it, just follow the rules. Base layer, insulating layer, and an outside waterproof layer.
Morning boys, how are we? Hey, what's that? Hey. Welcome to Neko. There's a lot of ice.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to be disembarking from the front.
So after picking our way through the ice to get to land, we have a briefing, and where they tell you where you can go and where you can't go, and it's marked out with little red lines, and then we're sort of exploring. So we're now here in Neko Harbour. It's very snowy, so that's why I'm kind of walking a bit tentatively. You can probably hear the penguins. It's again 2 penguins, and there's a huge big glacier over there which has calved a couple of times. I hope to be able to show you that. So one of the things I would say with an expedition cruise is you do need to be pretty fit because you have to climb on and off the Zodiacs. You have to be quite nimble because sometimes the sea can be moving up and down. And then you have to do things like this on the landings, climb up and down, be comfortable on your feet on ice and snow. But it's absolutely remarkable. I mean, just these scenes are absolutely incredible, and you're learning so much about the wildlife and the birds and history. So over there behind is the ship, and then we've been exploring. So you've got again 2 penguins over there. Steep way to climb down there. As I mentioned, a lot of people get worried about being overly cold. If anything, you get almost too hot with all these different layers, like hiking up this big hill, hiking back down again. You get really hot. In fact, I'm quite sweaty. I've been taking my hat off even to try and cool down a little bit. Just so beautiful. So these landings are fantastic. You get to explore incredible places. You can hear everyone jabbering away, excited there, and get some exercise in. The biggest mistake I think people make on an expedition trip is to take too many pictures. They just don't stop and listen and just take in what you're seeing. I think it's a temptation to just take so many pictures or videos and just miss what's going on. So that then was an example of a wet landing, although it wasn't that wet because we didn't actually step into the water, which we do on many of the other landings. So there's three kind of things that normally happen on an expedition tour. You'll have wet landings, Zodiac tours, and scenic touring. So scenic touring, for example, we did last night where we went looking for whales. So we basically cruised on the ship and we went looking for whales. We saw orca whales and we saw humpback whales. That was very exciting. And this afternoon we're going to be doing Zodiac touring in a place called Paradise Bay. But now it's time for some hot chocolate and then off to lunch. So I've had my lunch just over there in the buffet restaurant, which is over there. I tend to have most of my meals in the buffet restaurant because I don't want to spend a lot of time in the main restaurant because there's such incredible scenery. You know, you've got glaciers and mountains and just so much going on. I don't want to spend time eating really. The food is great, it's fine. It's pretty typical. People have asked me what the food is like on an expedition cruise. It's basically the same as any cruise, to be honest with you. Being French, they have this amazing bread and cheeses and whatever. Anyway, so had lunch. It's more changes because we're picking our way through this harbour where there's a lot of ice, there's a lot of icebergs. It's going to take us much longer to get to Paradise Bay than we had thought or planned or whatever the word is. So we're actually going to have the briefing. Now, normally you have the briefing at the end of the day where you recap what you've seen, you get told what's happening the next day. We're actually having that at 2:00, and then at 4:30 we're going to be going out to Paradise Bay so we can enjoy all this incredible scenery meantime and then have our briefing. And I'll tell you more about the briefings and what they said after that.
So you have Dumont d'Urville, who was a famous French explorer.
Last day we were in Gold Harbour and Cooper Bay.
Briefing's done, and one of the things I would say is one of the real highlights of an expedition cruise is the whole area of the briefings. So on this cruise we have 14 naturalists, so there's historians, geologists, whale experts, all sorts, and every single cruise is very unique. So after every outing, after every days of outings, they put together a series of talks which are exactly about what we've seen. So for example, we just learned a little bit more about orcas and humpback whales that we'd seen, a little bit more about shark cod where we'd been yesterday, and of course we get briefed on what we're doing tomorrow. So I would say one of the absolute highlights of an expedition cruise, without a shadow of a doubt, is those briefings. So we're now sort of heading into the bay, and we will hopefully be going on our Zodiac cruise shortly.
If you look carefully, you'll see the home lines, and then each of them is kind of standing on its own nest.
So back from the Zodiac tour, which was amazing, headed into Paradise Bay. Now, I'd actually been to Paradise Bay before, but I'd been at the end of the season, so amazing going beginning of the season because it's just chock full of ice, loads of icebergs, the glaciers are huge, the place is covered in snow, it looks amazing. So we had a look, or went past anyway, an Argentinian research center, which isn't open yet. They only move in December time. Then we headed out into a place called Scontorp Bay, had a look around there, and we had a really little surprise because they had got a little box in the Zodiac with champagne, so that was very nice. A little surprise that we had out there. Then we weaved our way around looking at all the incredible sights, birds on the rocks, and what people most enjoyed looking at probably is the icebergs and all the kind of coloured ice, etc. Headed back, had my traditional hot chocolate. You can probably hear them there putting the Zodiacs back, and then we're going to set sail for our next destination tomorrow, which is actually the South Shetlands. But of course there's still the whole night to go, and I'll explain what's happening a little bit later during the course of the evening. Today seems to have been a really good day to have chosen to talk about the unpredictability of going on an expedition cruise and how you need to be adaptable. I was going to talk about the things to do in the evening on board the ship, which is pretty laid back because most people go to bed early because you're pretty tired at the end of the day after all of these kind of excursions and activities that you've seen. However, during dinner today, the captain came on over the loudspeaker system to say that he was going to try something very special, very unique, and that's to push the ship right into the ice shelf. And if successful, we're going to be able to step out of the ship and go exploring and walk around on the ice. Now, the ice shelf is a really big, thick sheet of ice that extends past the land out over the sea. So underneath the ice shelf is ocean, basically, not land. Most of Antarctica is land. The idea is to push the ship, because it's got a strengthened hull, into the ice shelf and have a look and see if that's possible. And if it is, we're going to be out exploring on the ice shelf tonight. And so the plan is to start doing that at about 10 p.m. tonight, and hopefully we'll be out on the ice shelf about 11. So we're having a pretty unusual experience. We're actually in the shelf ice. So there's the sea, there's the beginning of the ice, there's the ice shelf, and we're pushed into the ice shelf and we're now walking through and on the ice. Absolutely and utterly incredible. The ship just pushing into the ice. And it's just really totally remarkable. Everybody out on deck having a look. What was even more amazing is once we were in the ice shelf and got out and explored. We were able to walk around, there was a perimeter set up, explore. There was really great excitement because there was actually an emperor penguin in the distance we couldn't get to because it was too far away, which is really unusual. And they set up a little stand where you could have caviar and explore. The Filipino crew went crazy. They all came out because many of them hadn't been able to get out at all. When we've been touring the islands, they went crazy with the flag. Really fun where they put a rope down from the front of the ship, and so people were pretending to pull the ship. Absolutely incredible experience. It doesn't happen very often. It's very rare. It's very unusual, and it was just mind-blowing.